Hello everybody, it is Saturday, June 13th. Welcome to this episode of Jeff and Paper Gary, which we are going to title Hijacked. No, I didn't have to squawk 7,500, but I did wake up at I woke up at 04 stupid o'clock. But by 7 a.m. I was ready to go, dressed and pressed to get in the garage, and was hijacked by my wife when she said, hey, let's go to that landscaping store. So that turned into hours worth of laying weed barrier in the backyard to prepare for tons of rock that are going to get delivered here in the future, which will again take me out of the garage to shovel and make the yard look pretty. On the subject of making the yard look pretty, if you are in the OKC area, I'm going to give a shout out and recommend to you Twisted Curb. Twisted Curb came and gave me a great quote for putting in some of that cement curb stuff around some landscaping area in the back, and I'll take some pictures or some video of that to show you. Didn't get paid for this. I didn't get any kind of discount from this guy, but it is a veteran-owned company, which I love to support when I can, and they gave me a great quote, came out and did a great job, was quick. They were out here within days of signing the paperwork on that one, and they did a really nice job. So it looks really good. I'm happy, the wife is happy, and then once we get some rock thrown in there, we'll call it done. But if you're in the market for that kind of stuff, it's a lot cheaper than I thought it would be. So that was an adventure I was going to take on myself. And when I looked at the cost of plywood for forms and all the other junk, they could actually do it much faster and cheaper than I could even get close to doing. So Twisted Curb, check them out. They are online at twistedcurb.com. And you can get all kinds of pictures and call Nick up and get a quote. So with that, we're in the garage. It's a little after noon now, and we have some work to do on the doubler ring that goes into the left elevator for the trim tab. And, right, we got a box from Vans here, which is the spar that I dorked up twice. So we're gonna get through that and not screw it up this time and make sure that we machine countersink the top half of it instead of dimpling. And we'll just see where we get. So thanks for tuning in, and let's see what we learn.
Well, we learned a lot. There's a whole lot to talk about in this episode for what seems like a small amount of work. So the piece that you see right here is the doubler plate that goes into the left elevator skin. That's kind of a reinforcement plate, and then it acts as the mounting portion for that cover plate that's just to the right of that doubler there. So those two pieces will go together. And there's not too much to it. I decided to use the hand deburring tool to countersink these screw holes that go for the nut plates. The number 30 countersink bit just seemed like it was just a touch small for the holes that they have in there. I'm not sure what size screw holes those are. And it tends to wobble around a little bit and then makes a big ugly hole. So I didn't want to screw up the part again, so I just took the deburring tool and used that to countersink those screw holes, and it came out pretty nicely. And it was actually kind of nice because you could you have a lot of control when you're using that, and you can creep up on it and make that panel, the cover plate, fit very nicely in there. And so this is just prepping some of these parts for paint, so we can get them into the paint booth and shot with some primer so they can get assembled later. Not too much to say about that, just normal scuffing and, deburring, scuffing, washing. And there's my daughter coming to the rescue for a minute as I tried to take that skin down from the shelf, and parts started to rain down from above onto the workbench. So lucky to have her there at that moment. So the skin, we're going to see me a little bit putting this spar. This was that one that we screwed up twice. So making sure we get that in there for the third time, and match drilled, marked accordingly, and then we'll take it out and do all the deburring, dimpling, and all the necessary prep work for that. And the elevator itself, the left elevator, it's quite different than the right. I mean, there's some of the same parts, but of course the stiffeners on half of that thing are different, and then you've got the different spar to contend with, and you get into this bending of these tabs, which you'll see in a minute. It's like where that cutout is for the trim tab are two tabs which closes in that area, and the instructions tell you to get like a block of wood and clamp it up inside there somehow and bend it, but we're not going to do that. So over here again, you've seen me use this before. This is that Clemson Aeronautics yoke that Hisham sent me. Really like how that thing mounts to the vise. You guys heard me say this before, and I'll say it again. It is a really great tool. They make a great product, and they're all American made. So if you're in the market for some yokes, please go out and check out Hisham's website and Clemson Aeronautics, and you'll see a couple of his YouTube videos on here too regarding the CAD 1 system that you see there between my workbenches. At any rate, going to complete the assembly of this rudder, or at least start prepping all the parts for assembly of the skeleton for this. So here I am machine countersinking that spar, which I should have done the first time instead of dimpling both sides of it. So we machine countersink one side, we dimple the other side, and we do that in order for the hinge to rivet into place that will attach the trim tab to the elevator. So that's going to happen in some future videos. We're just about at the point where I'll be ready to start digging into that. But today we're focusing on just trying to get this skeleton together and get ready for closing this thing up as much as possible. Over here, and you guys heard me mention this previously, this 713 part, that's that aluminum strip that wraps around the 703 and 704 ribs and holds the lead counterbalance in place. That little bit of filing there was just that necessary portion of beveling that edge so that the skin transitions nice and smoothly, or at least smoother than if you just left it alone. So that's fine print on the instructions there. It's just one small step, but it does make a difference. And you can tell when you put it together that having that bevel just a bit makes it much nicer. And no magic here. Just when I'm scuffing these parts, or I'm just scuffing them with a red Scotch-Brite pad, I'll usually take them outside or to the laundry room sink and hose them down real quick and rinse a bunch of that dust off, and then give it like a final once or twice over with acetone to make sure it's all clean and free of oils or dirts or anything else like that. And then I run it out to the paint booth and just zap it with some self-etching primer. So here you're going to see, and I think I probably referenced Tim's videos on this one, T-Flight77 Tim, who found on somebody else's website or somebody else's YouTube channel a method of closing in these end areas. So on the elevators, I think all throughout the elevators and on the certain portions of this, there's these exposed parts that get they're just kind of left open, right? So you either see like the inside of a rib, the flanges and rivets, or you bend these little tabs over and you stick some rivets in there, and it doesn't just doesn't look the best. So the method that Tim uses, and he found from somebody else, is to put a small block of really lightweight foam inside there, and then mixes up a slurry of, I think, glass beads and some composite material, some other composite material, and fills that in. So it's nice and solid, it's smooth, it looks really nice, and it's super lightweight. So I'm going to go that same route. And here I am with the Dremel tool, just marking these things off and taking a cut. So you want to watch the bend radius. Let's see, I don't know if bend radius is the right word, but the curve, and make sure that you're tangent to that curve line of that cut in there. And when you have your skin in front of you, you'll see what I mean. You don't want to leave too much, because then you're going to sit there and file forever, and you certainly don't want to cut too deep and then have a wonky angle there and a big gap. So I tried to get as close as possible, and then use my files here to clean this up nice and smooth so that they were as even as possible, and nice and flat and no sharp edges. So it came out really nice. The Dremel tool is a good way to go. I use the fiberglass cutting discs on there and go at a really slow speed, put some extra tape down there to protect just in case you slip, and just take your time. I kind of went like scoring pass, and then another cut pass, and then a final pass to cut even a little deeper. And I didn't really even cut all the way through. You might have saw me there with the seaming pliers, grabbing that and bending it a little back and forth until it finally broke off, and then just filed it smooth. So it worked really well. And in order to do this, right, you have to put a small rib in place where those two tabs were. So I had some scrap material around here. I used I think it's the 709 is the part number for the rib that goes on the inboard side of the, oh sorry, that's not 709, that's like the 704, I guess. At any rate, you can use the tip of that as a template, and I used it to make a template on a block of wood. I cut out a block of wood, sanded it down, radius the curves, or radius the edges a little bit so they weren't so sharp, and then I just took a piece of spare aluminum that I had laying around and kind of wrapped it and folded it around there. You'll see in a little bit. Put it in the vise and used a rawhide hammer to form it, and it came out pretty well. It was interesting, years and years ago, I used to watch this fabricating show of motorcycles with Jesse James of West Coast Choppers, and I remember him, saying in one of those episodes, just get a piece of metal and bang on it, right, and beat it with a hammer and start forming something, and you'll learn a lot throughout that process as you go. And I had messed with some metalwork years ago, nothing that really came to any fruition. But this was kind of fun to just take a flat sheet of metal and make a small form out of wood. And then, I had a couple of specialty hammers. Like I said, I've got a rawhide hammer and then a little body hammer, and was able to formulate a rib that fit in there pretty nicely. So just sanding all the rough edges there, making sure it's as even as possible so that it fits in there. It is non-structural. And you're not really going to see this thing once it's all filled in with the fiberglass and everything. But, you do want it to fit in there nicely and not distort the skin or cause any misshapen areas in there. So the fun part of this is really doing the rivet layout on here. And so I just kind of kept in line with the row of rivets above it and I guess perpendicular to it, and tried to line that up the best I can. I put 3 rivets on there. I used my rivet spacing fan. Threw a cleco there in one of the holes, and then just got out to a spacing that looked like it lined up with the last rivet hole along the trailing edge there. And what I did when I did this, to make sure that they were the same on the both sides, and sorry the video sped up, you don't really see it. I took a scrap piece of metal and drilled some holes in it and but clecoed it to the fan so that when I took it off of there, it held its shape and I could just easily transfer it to the other side. So that's about it for this video. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. I'll hand it over to Live Action Jeff here for the closeout. We'll see you guys next time.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for today. Thank you all for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, and until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. This is Jeff and Paper Gary out.